Welcome to the Merging Life and Money Show, the live show and podcast dedicated to helping professional women achieve financial wellness by merging the emotional and practical side of money. This month is Women History Month, and I am honoring all the amazing and inspiring women who have had a big impact on society by running a special 5-part series. Their bravery, their strength, and their ability to keep going lead to progress, equality, and justice, all of which are things we must always work for on a global scale. Not only does recognizing them inspire others, but it is also important for making sure that everyone is treated fairly and equally around the world. So in today's episode, which is part 3, I will be shining a light on women of color's contributions to storytelling. As we all know, they are often overlooked and so undervalued. Therefore, it is time to acknowledge the importance of celebrating their achievement and contributions to the storytelling business. You know, it is kind of interesting that the 95th Academy Awards were just this past Sunday. And I have to ask, while it was nice to see nominees with more different kind of faces than in recent years, don't you think that it is about time to really change how ethnic minorities are represented? Well, just saying. Welcome to the Merging Life and Money Show. So before I get into it, let me introduce myself. For those of you who do not know me, I am your host, Marie-Jo César. Make sure to tune in every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for a live broadcast with yours truly. I am here to give you the tools and techniques and inspiration, motivation you might need to achieve financial wellness and live your life with meaning. And this month, I am celebrating the women of this world. So thank you for joining in today. Grab a beverage of your choice and make yourself comfortable. You might want to grab a pen and a notebook as well, so you can take some notes to share and talk about with family members, neighbors, friends, co-workers, and more. And if you are listening on iTunes and Spotify and Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, or any other major podcast platform, I welcome you. I am glad you joined in today. So let's get going. In this episode, I will look into the inspiring stories of women of colors in storytelling. I will explore their incredible impact on the industry and uncover how these powerful creators overcame adversity to make an unforgettable mark. From highlighting personal experiences, reflecting on ongoing challenges, and showcasing those who made significant contribution, I will be centering my talk around a group whose talent, skills, and I would say creativity warrant a much deserved recognition. I am talking about women of color. Women of color have been largely absent from the art of storytelling for far too long. Not only are their important contributions overlooked, but they face challenges ranging from stereotypes and marginalization to a lack of representation in an industry that could benefit tremendously by being more inclusive. So today I will, reflect on the role of women of color in storytelling. I will also discuss the importance of empowering women of color in storytelling. And I will lastly discuss the importance of celebrating the diversity and intersectionality of women of color in storytelling. All right, let's get real. It is time to give proper recognition where it is long overdue. Women of color have been on the front lines, pushing boundaries and telling extraordinary stories. But despite their hard work, they often go unnoticed. So before I go any further, let's give the show some context. Let me first define women of color. Well, in my opinion, women of color are brave and they are strong and they are resilient heroes who bear the weight of a long history that often goes unwritten. They are cut from every conceivable cloth, African, Latinx, Asian, or Native American in origin. These diverse individuals have constantly pushed up against inequality to make their story heard loud and clear. That is why we need to recognize that women of color have been paving the way in storytelling, and their unique perspectives deserve celebration. So by praising them for what they have done well, we not only honor what they have done, but we also give them a lot of motivation. And let's not forget about representation. Seeing people of color on screen or behind the scenes send a strong message. You belong here. So let's honor these people who broke new ground, because without them, there wouldn't be any stories worth telling. Okay, so let's break with tradition and create a truly inclusive industry. So before addressing the first point, let me state that I am not going to talk just about the past, as I will also be looking to the future and giving the next generation of storytellers something to think about. So by highlighting the work of women of color in storytelling, I hope to encourage others to follow their passions and dreams, no matter what obstacle they may face. So let's give credit where credit is due and recognize the women of color who have made the difference in storytelling. And that takes me to the first point of today's show, the role of women of color in storytelling. Well, let's celebrate the inspiring women of color who have laid down a trailblazing path in storytelling, from dominating screens, both big and small, penning page-turning literature, and taking center stage on Broadway. These ladies have left an unforgettable imprint. It has been, I would say, it has not been easy for them to make that unforgettable mark. They have had to deal with problems like being underrepresented in the industry as a whole and being overlooked for awards every year. And these amazing stories of resilience have proven that nothing can stand between true talent and success. I will first reflect on the contributions of women of color in storytelling. These trailblazing women have created incredible waves throughout the entertainment industry, inspiring others to follow their lead. From producing and acting to writing and directing, they have pushed boundaries. They have challenged stereotypes, and have given rise to stories that authentically portray an array of background with captivating precision. They are taking a stand for true representation on screen and are leaving us mesmerized by every film or show they create. Their accomplishments are nothing short of groundbreaking, setting a powerful example for those that follow to continue unfolding stories and expanding boundaries. But there is still an incredible amount left to do before we finally break the barriers, keeping us from reaching truly inclusive heights. Women of color have kept their culture alive through storytelling for centuries, and some remarkable authors have carried their legacy forward. Toni Morrison's works like Beloved and the bluest Eye illuminated the Black experience in America. She talked about what Black women went through and helped bring attention to racism and discrimination. Sandra Cisneros' book, The House on Mango Street, bridged cultural divides by drawing from her own experiences as a Mexican-American woman. Well, these stories continue to inspire women all over the world who are eager to tell their unique stories. Now, let's be honest about the problem that women of color still face in the storytelling business. Women of color have made incredible strides and impacts, yet they still experience significant marginalizations, disparity in representation and payment between gender and races are persistent obstacle, I would say. Well, I will tell you that getting a seat at the table is not enough, okay? Their voices must be heard just as much, if not more, than anyone else's if we were, going to make real progress toward equity within the storytelling industry. The struggle is real. Change will not come easy. So despite significant progress in recent years, women of color are still vastly underrepresented when it comes to storytelling. Not only do white male protagonists dominate the narrative landscape, but very often these stories lack an authentic level of representation due to a glaring absence of diversity among those behind the camera and pen, such as writers and directors and producers alike. To make matters worse, there is also limited access to financial resources, allowing women of color the freedom they need to create their powerful narratives, which leave them clearly on the outside looking in. So furthermore, women of color face a double-edged sword when it comes to making their voice heard in storytelling, in the storytelling industry. They are often relegated to supporting roles or typecast into limited parts in the entertainment industry, regardless of their talent, right? Also, they are often subject to added obstacles such as having to constantly prove themselves and break down prejudiced narratives that assume they don't have what it takes for bigger roles. This is a constant uphill battle against unfair stereotypes that should be left firmly in the past. This leads me to the second point, the importance of empowering women of color in storytelling and creating a more equitable and inclusive industry. Well, storytelling has the incredible power to shape our perception, impact beliefs, and help us understand, the world. So we must empower women of color in these stories. Okay, this is not just to show people's experiences as they really are, but also to fix the imbalances in society that can lead to people being left out. It is time for a change. It is no secret that the stories we consume are often dominated by a single and limited narrative, one which primarily portrays white men. Sadly, this means that there isn't much space left for diverse voices, especially those of women of color. So tell me, when was the last time you saw refreshingly unique perspectives from different backgrounds? When did you last read or watch something that celebrated multiculturalism instead of perpetuating inequality? Well, representation matters now more than ever before. Let's make sure to embrace it in our creative work as well. I will even go as far as saying that women of color have a chance to rewrite Hollywood story, since more opportunities are created for marginalized voices and perspectives that have been ignored until now. So by empowering these women, we can open ourselves up to all new stories and acknowledge the struggles they face along the way in this male-dominated industry. For instance, Ava DuVernay has made a name for herself in Hollywood by going against the norm and trying to help women of color get ahead. She has done this with her production company, Array, Array, and by speaking out about representation. Similarly, Jacqueline Woodson is making waves with her stories about Black girls and women, which encourages others to share their stories. I will add that through Woodson's work, the literary world has become even more colorful, and everyone can see themselves on paper or the screen. I firmly believe that we can create a fairer future by amplifying the voices of women of color in storytelling. Their perspective possess an inspiring power to shape our worldview and challenge injustice, promoting a more inclusive reality that reflects true diversity. So it's time to put a stop to the erasure of women of color stories in entertainment. Okay, we have been missing out on so much potential because their rich perspective have rarely been given an opportunity for expression. But it doesn't have to stay this way. So by lending just support, we can make sure these voices are no longer suppressed or ignored. From Ava DuVernay's stunning Selma to Mindy Kaling's award-winning series like The Mindy Project, and Issa Rae making history with her critically acclaimed show Insecure, these incredible women of color have left an indelible mark on the entertainment industry. We need to keep celebrating their accomplishments as they continue trailblazing path for generations of diverse storytellers who will follow in their footsteps. And it is a fact that when we lift the voices of women of color in storytelling, everyone stands to benefit. They bring us stories and perspective that open our eyes to new experiences, that increase understanding across different cultures, and help create a more, I would say, equitable society. Imagine stepping into a world where vibrant stories of women of colors dance across a big screen, revealing the true rainbow that lives amongst us. Crazy Rich Asians is an exciting example, right? It was a first of its kind movie that blew up in Hollywood like a colorful supernova. And don't forget the hit TV show Insecure that I mentioned a few moments ago. Issa Rae, the creative powerhouse behind it, has masterfully sculptured a show that illustrates the complicated lives of Black women intimately, giving space to stories that are often overlooked by mainstream media. It is like finding a hidden treasure trove of real experiences that can be seen by millions of people. This example truly helps us learn more about this interesting melting pot we call the world. So think about the last time you watched a movie or dove into a book that had a mix of fascinating characters representing different races and genders and identities. Did it stir something inside you, like shifting your views or evolving your comprehension of the world? Well, that, my friend, is the magic of storytelling. So when we give women of color the stage to tell their tales, it is like adding a blend of vibrant colors and texture to our cultural canvas. You know, when people listen to and celebrate these different stories and voices, we can break down stereotypes, break down walls, and teach everyone a lot of empathy. So let's pull back the curtains and let shared stories bring us together and help us understand each other. I cannot help but talk about Ava DuVernay again, this time referring to her masterpiece, When They See Us, a gripping Netflix series that uncovers the chilling tale of the Central Park Five. These young Black and Latino men suffered the crushing weight of false convictions for a crime they never committed. Here is what makes it pop. The genius behind the lens, none other than a brilliant woman of color. She dives headfirst into the murky depths of racial profiling, police brutality, and a criminal justice system that is anything but fair. And guess what? It triggers an explosion of discussion all over the nation, spreading the urgency for criminal justice reform like wildfire, and amplifying the voices of Black and Latino communities in America. Talk about a powerful piece of storytelling. Another example is the gripping novel, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. It is an eye-opening tale of a young Black girl who sees her friend's life senselessly taken by a police officer. Crafted by a talented Black author, the book delves deep into the raw reality of police brutality, the fight for racial justice, and the essence of the Black Lives Matter movement. Kudos to Thomas. She truly weaves a story that ignites hearts and bridges the gap between race by stirring empathy and understanding. At the end of the day, uplifting women of color in storytelling is the main ingredient to keeping the entertainment world fresh and exciting. The reality is that our global family is getting more and more colorful every day, and our stories need to reflect that. But if the entertainment business does not get on board with this trend, trust me, it will simply fade into oblivion. I will add that in a world where diversity is becoming more and more seen as a fundamental value, it is important to give women of color more power in storytelling. Do you remember how everyone went crazy, for Crazy Rich Asians and Black Panther? Well, this indicates that we all crave stories that show different perspectives and experiences. So let's keep empowering women of color to weave more tales that will touch the heart of a wider audience and bring us all closer together. Furthermore, imagine a world where women of color use the power of stories to spark change and question the status quo. As their story unfolds, we are drawn in and moved by their struggle and want to help them and their community. Imagine the ripple effect, similar to the unstoppable power of the Me Too movement. As you may recall, it was fueled by the brave voices of women of color who were willing to talk about their scary experiences with sexual harassment and assault. It was a wake-up call. Okay, it made us look at the problems in our society, and it got us to start a long overdue conversation about how to make things fairer and more just. I know that we can surely make a world like that by giving these amazing storytellers more power and recognizing the power of their stories. I will end this point by saying that elevating women of color in storytelling is not just about leveling the playing field or doing the right thing. It's about painting a genuine, multi-layered, and all-embracing picture of the world we live in. And guess what? It works wonders for society, and it is a secret sauce for the entertainment industry's future success. Now, what can we do to champion these fabulous women? Easy as pie. Let's create more golden opportunities in the industry. Let's have their backs with funding and mentorship. And let's use our social media spice to turn up the volume on their voices. By doing this, we will be crafting a world that celebrates diversity and relishing the glorious assortment that is the human experience. Now to the third and final point for today's show, the importance of celebrating the diversity and intersectionality of women of color in storytelling. So while the imbalance is glaring, let us celebrate the diversity and intersectionality of women of color in storytelling. Intersectionality is a term that we must clearly understand. It is a study of how oppressive social systems like racism and sexism affect people from marginalized groups. It shows how complexly a person's identity can affect how they deal with discrimination by putting together different parts that cannot be understood on their own. Therefore, with intersectionality, we can see how these different oppressive systems work together to make a system that excludes people who do not follow the dominant culture. This gives us the power to try to break it all down, from smashing stereotypes to creating groundbreaking work. Women of color in storytelling are making their mark on the industry. They are directors, they are producers, they are writers and actors coming together from different backgrounds with unique perspective and bringing a wide range of cultures and experiences to life through artful storytelling and challenging misconceptions about gender roles. We must celebrate this unbeatable lineup of genius creatives because they bring so much extraordinary talent and inspiring stories that have forever changed the storytelling industry while paving the way for generations after them. Now, I would like to celebrate the accomplishment of women of color from different communities and backgrounds. These women have made big changes in the industry and left an indelible mark on the way stories are told. Mira Nair is an acclaimed Indian filmmaker whose work has been applauded globally. Her films, such as Monsoon Wedding and The Namesake, explore family identity and culture. Mira faces a challenge of navigating a world where women and people of color often hit a glass ceiling. And despite this obstacle, she persists in pursuing her filmmaking passion and continues to create captivating films that shatter stereotypes and expand our worldview. Lulu Wang is an extraordinary Chinese-American filmmaker who shattered box office records with her film, The Farewell. The Farewell showcases the intricacies of family bonds and cultural identity from a uniquely raw and authentic Asian perspective. And despite facing challenges in Hollywood as an Asian American, Lulu Wang persevered, advocating for underrepresented talent and expanding our understanding of the Asian American experience. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is a Nigerian literary powerhouse and a fierce champion of women's voices. This award-winning trailblazing author waves her magic around theme of race and identity and gender, capturing the heart of minds of readers everywhere. She has conquered the male-dominated world of literature, refusing to fade into the background or let women's stories be shoved aside. Like a spark igniting change, Adichie's insightful works and an apologetic spirit continue to inspire countless fellow writers and provoke fresh perspective across the globe. Sonia Sotomayor is an absolute trailblazer. She made history as the first Latina Supreme Court justice in the U.S. And let me tell you, she didn't have it easy, facing big-time barriers in a field dominated by folks who did not look like her. Ms. Sotomayor was all about defying the odds, and we are lucky she did. Her passion for justice and fairness have left a mark on the legal world, making it a more inclusive place for everyone. I also would like to recognize other women of color who have been total rock stars across history. Take the civil rights movement, for instance. Fannie Lou Hamer, Shirley Chisholm, and Ella Baker were pivotal forces in the fight for voting rights and racial justice. And how about those trailblazing at NASA? Katherine Johnson and Mary Jackson and Dorothy Vaughan, who smashed through barriers as mathematicians and computer programmers. Then there is the entertainment world, where icons like Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison and Beyonce have been amplifying the voice of Black women through their incredible artistry. We also have this mighty trio of women with their unwavering strength, resilience, and commitment. I'm talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, Kamala Harris, and Ilhan Omar are breaking new ground in politics. Fearlessly taking on systemic barriers, they have risen to positions of leadership and influence, showing that they are not just regular powerhouses, but also trailblazers for women of color. So let's wrap it up and recap some of the key points. I will be talking all day about this. I explore the incredible achievement of contribution of women of color in storytelling, the ongoing challenging they face, and the strategies we can use to empower and support them. From filmmakers to writers, actresses to producers, women of color are breaking down barriers and creating new possibilities for themselves and the next generation of creators. I reflected on the role of women of color in storytelling. I discussed the importance of empowering women of color in storytelling. And I also discussed the importance of celebrating the diversity and intersectionality of women of color in storytelling. It is crucial that we continue to celebrate the contributions of women of color in storytelling, not just during Women's History Month, but all year round. So let's continue to support and celebrate them and work together to create a more inclusive, diverse industry for everyone. And as I see it, to create a more diverse landscape for storytelling, we need to make sure that filmmakers and writers and studios put their money where their mouth is. And by seeking out talented women of color for roles both in front and behind the camera, and providing financial resources to get stories off the ground as well, mentorship opportunities so no one gets left behind, would definitely help foster an industry with greater representation, thus empowering female creatives along the way. So my last thought for today, okay? I was looking at some numbers. The facts speak for themselves. The status of women of color in the USA news media 2018 report found that US media companies have not hired or promoted enough women of color as journalists to allow newsrooms to reflect the perspective of their readers and viewers. The reality is that women of color have long been excluded from positions within the media industry, preventing them from having their stories heard and represented. Also, a 2018 report by the Women's Media Center unveils startling statistics. While they made up nearly 40% of the US, women of color only hold 22% in newsrooms roles, a clear reflection that there is still more work to be done towards achieving equal representation for everyone. Therefore, empowering these marginalized voices through storytelling will help create an equitable society where everyone's voice is respected and valued. Well, this is all I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in to listen to this important discussion. Your support and participation means a lot to me. And we can only make a difference in the industry if we all work together. We want to keep helping women of color tell stories by making their voices heard, looking for their work, and fighting for real representation and inclusion in the industry. And as you know, I like to end my show with inspiring words, and here they are. So supporting women of color in storytelling is an ongoing and intentional effort, and it is up to all of us to create a more equitable and just world for everyone. So this brings us to the end of today's Merging Life and Money episode. It has been a pleasure to share my thoughts with you, and I hope that you found this episode informative and inspiring. So make sure to watch the replay, okay, and share it with others. I will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Mountain time, 9 p.m. Central time, 10 p.m. Eastern time, 11 p.m. Atlantic time, noon Friday, Australia time, for the fourth part of the International Women Special Series. Thank you for being here today on the Merging Life and Money show. I am your host, Marie-Jo César. I will be back again next week. Until then, continue merging life and money. Bye for now.